Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Isis, Imitation of Life. The Goddess Next Door helps a young black girl overcome racism during the era of Jim Crow in this Golden Age Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Imitation of Life in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Quaker Oats has decided to change the name of its Aunt Jemima pancake mix to the Pearl Milling Company. Now, this decision was made in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd and all of the protests that took place in that summer of 2020. Now, your Quaker Oats says it's doing this in the name of so called diversity, but when I take a critical examination of this name change from Aunt Jemima to the Pearl Milling Company, I see just another empty symbolic gesture made by a corporation to make it look like they're fighting racism, but they're still maintaining the same old system of white supremacy that keeps black people oppressed. Unfortunately, many of the woke types, like those members of Black Lives Matter, think they've achieved some sort of victory, but they've gained absolutely nothing at all. The critical question I have to ask those members of Black Lives Matter and those who would celebrate this type of symbolic gesture is how many black Americans are going to receive an economic benefit from this change? Because when I look at this whole decision to change the name from Aunt Jemima to the Pearl Milling Company, that doesn't put any money in any black person's pocket, nor does it change any black person's economic situation. Because most of those people at Quaker, they're still going to be reaping in lots of profits from selling people Aunt Jemima pancake mix, Aunt Jemima waffles, and Aunt Jemima syrup, all with a new brand name. So this has not changed the flow of dollars to black people and allowed them to gain any sort of economic empowerment whatsoever. Nor has it been making it where any more black people are going to be on the job at your Quaker Oats. I mean, how many more black people are going to get hired at a Quaker Oats factory producing Pearl Milling Company pancake mix, Pearl Milling syrup, or Pearl Milling waffles? How many more black Americans are going to receive an economic benefit from this whole symbolic gesture? That's something that most of these Black Lives Matter types and woke types aren't really thinking about again. And another thing that I really think about is the argument they have, which is completely ridiculous, talking about, oh, how taking away this image is going to change things. The image of Aunt Jemima is basically irrelevant, and these guys are sitting there thinking, oh, we took this one image down as related to Aunt Jemima, but the image of Aunt Jemima changed all the way back in 1989 from the mammy that it originally was to a black woman with a perm. So you did absolutely nothing to combat racism. The image had already been changed over 30 years ago. And you're sitting there thinking you're doing something about fighting racism by taking down this archaic image that had already been changed already. And meanwhile, you have numerous celebrities out here who are promoting and breathing brand new life into stereotypes like your Cardi B, like your Megan Thee Stallion, and many others. But we don't see anybody protesting these new modern day mammies, these new modern day black Jezebels, or these new modern day black sapphires. No, everybody wants to sit there and think, oh, we took down an old image of a black mammy, and a mammy that, again, already had been erased from most of the corporate images all the way back in 1989. So you've done absolutely nothing, but you think that because this company changed the name, you did something, but this does nothing for black Americans whatsoever. And the only ones who think they've achieved and accomplished something are these woke types who want to feel good. And that's what corporate America takes advantage of. These people who want to feel good, but at the end of the day, they are out here not spending any money whatsoever, and business is going to go back to being business as usual because changing the name of Aunt Jemima to Pearl Milling Company does absolutely nothing because the pancakes coming out of the box are going to still be the same. The syrup is still going to be the same. And the money is still going to these white corporate owners and not in the hands of black people whatsoever. So when I look at a lot of these people who want to sit there and say, oh, this is a big significant change that's going to combat racism, how is that going to combat racism again when this has already been changed back in the 80s? And how is this going to combat racism when the ultimate way you combat racism is through black economic empowerment? And this is not putting any money in any black man or black woman's pocket. And this is not putting any money in any black owned businesses. This is not doing anything for black people. And this is the type of stuff that most black people, they're not really thinking about because they're so caught, their self-esteem is so low that all they're thinking about is the attention they're getting from some white people, that they're not understanding that not all good attention is good attention, and not every gesture made to you is a gesture that is in your favor. And sometimes the people making gestures towards you are actually throwing middle fingers up at you. And sometimes when they're throwing up that middle finger at you, they're laughing at you because they know that, oh, all I have to do is throw some empty symbolic gesture at these people, and they'll sit there and they'll have a big smile on their face thinking that they got something. But at the end of the day, they got absolutely nothing. And they're celebrating getting nothing. And that's what many of these people don't really see out here. A lot of black folks, they're like, oh, we got this company to change its name. But it's like, are they changing their employment policies to benefit you? Are they changing their business contract policies to benefit you? No, all of those policies that provide tangible resources to people are still being handed over to whites and non-blacks, and they are still enriching themselves at your expense. And you're sitting there smiling with a Kool-Aid grin thinking you've accomplished something, but all you've got is a big bag of nothing at the end of the day, because many of these so-called woke types, they are the same ones who are going to be in the lot. They're not even buying this pancake mix, and they're sitting there thinking that making you think you've got something. But at the end of the day, you black American are still out here buying this pancake mix, making these other people rich, while these SJW types are sitting there gloating, thinking they've got a victory, when all they've gotten is nothing, and they've given you nothing, and you're sitting there thinking, hey, I've achieved something. But what have you achieved at the end of the day if these people aren't giving you any sort of tangibles? I mean, that's a critical question I have to ask. What are you getting out of this outside of a name change? I mean, the product, again, is still the same. The flow of dollars is still the same. And you're still in the same place. And all you're doing is feeling. And that's the big problem with black people is they always come into things with their feelings. And that's what the sad part about the summer of 2020 is that we had all of these people out here marching and protesting as related to George Floyd and the Central Park Karen and all of these other incidents as related to race. And they're not making any progress because many of these people were caught up in their feelings and did not have an agenda towards achieving any sort of goals. And because they didn't have an agenda towards achieving any sort of goals, this is why they're going to wind up with a big bag of nothing at the end of the day. And they're sitting there talking about, oh, Aunt Jemima is gone. Meanwhile, Pearl Milling Company is still raking in billions at the expense of black people. And the same racists who sit there and made money off of Aunt Jemima are still sitting there making profits on Pearl Milling products. Now, If you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction, you can find that on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more classic videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.